Welcome to another episode of Time is the Only Luxury. Today we have Evan Hawkins joining us again. Had a great time. We talked about Evan's military career a little bit, his early life in Turkey, and a lot more Bitcoin talk. I hope you all enjoy the show.
We're just going to do it.
Send the motherfucking jet. Send the jet. Send the motherfucking jet.
Hooty hoo. Hello, my king. Everyone, welcome back. We got old Evan Hawkins again joining us today. Let's just jump right into it, my king. We don't need no crazy intro. I'll do an intro later when I'm up for it. I'll do professional, lovely intros and hype you up and make you feel good. Well, great to talk to you again. What's up with you? How's life? You said you got the baby strapped to you. That's amazing. Podcasting with a baby strapped to you is super 2023 energy.
That's right. I can do it all.
You can do it. You are the guy that does it all. That's how I really feel. That's what I really feel.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. What's going on with you? How's your day? How's life? What you working on? You said you're buying GPUs here?
That was Adam.
Oh, I thought, okay. Well, what'd you think about my thing the other day where I said free compute is free? I know you laughed at that. I was expecting a response, but you didn't give me one.
Oh, you wanted one. Okay.
Well, I mean, somebody saying compute is free and it is getting cheaper and cheaper. And that's kind of been my argument, is I know things get out of date, but it's not like, and what's the last GPUs that are dead? Like, what is the GPU right now it's out of date, don't even bother buying it, it's not worth the money? Like, what is that?
Depends on the use case, but probably, RX 580s.
Okay.
Can't mine with them anymore.
And is that because of software upgrades or protocol upgrades, or what is that?
Well, ever since ETH went proof of stake, that is a lot of money that miners can't make anymore. And it was, when the price was high, it was allowing a lot of those older GPUs to stay afloat. Not no mo.
What'd you think about the, I know you just gave a quick comment, like you thumbs up a thing, but what'd you think about Michael Saylor's comments?
I didn't see it. I only saw the link. I didn't have time to click on it and watch it. So.
Well, he basically is just saying,
I guess no comment.
They're stealing by changing the block size. You're stealing what was a miner's investment into a space that they thought was stable, accessible for them financially, and they made a business decision to go in on a protocol that we have been sold the idea of forever. Well, some people have bought the idea of forever. And then a change to that would, to block space, would render a miner less profitable. And because that block space is competition-based, fee-based, so if the mempool is high, that's great for a miner that's looking to make money if they're making money off of fees. But it does seem that there is something dishonest about rugging somebody who jumped into your protocol and supporting it. Do you have any feelings on that, or is it fuck them?
Oh yeah, of course I got feelings on that.
Let's hear them. Share some.
I guess this argument stems down to, do you believe there should be a lot of use on chain or only a few use cases on chain? Because Saylor's argument is right if there's not going to be that many people using Bitcoin. So the miners, of course, won't have as much competition with, people calling out the mempool and trying to get their transaction to go first, because there'll be more block space and thus more regular transactions can go through at a reduced rate. But, it's, again, we're talking about trade-offs here. What's the future of Bitcoin look like? Mm-hmm. Does it look like the way we use gold today, where it sits in vaults and we, change who owns it on a ledger, and very rarely is it moved between entities? Or is it a information superhighway where you can store anything you want, provided you're willing to pay whatever the fee is at that time.
So as a businessman, don't you think like there's like the instability there is not worth, like if you're really looking at making a huge investment into the space, isn't it like consistency and expectations of market stability major factor in diving into that? And if something can be so easily changed in like something like block space that's can be changed at will depending on what network you're on and how centralized something is I mean, of course you need miners supporting it or whatever, but I mean, where is like the, I guess like the market price point at which a bigger block size, like nobody's mining on BSV. Is that because the blocks are so big and there's no money there, or is it because running a node is too expensive? What's the real energy there market wise? And say BTC was to increase block size, isn't there now like a period where nobody that was profitable is profitable any longer?
I think you're asking me multiple questions there. But
I am, but it just seems like an arbitrary thing of like, if you're like, okay, it's going to be used a lot and we're going to store a lot of space and BSV is really cheap to use, but no miners are making money, therefore they have no miners. It just kind of seems like we're going to just see all the forks forever until BTC or whatever the dominant chain is gets its shit together, and maybe usage explodes so high that there is a happy medium. But it feels like there's no happy mediums here. It feels like there is no market rate. It feels like it's all just on a whim. And to me today, like everybody's hype about ordinals, I don't even know, if the ordinals will be supported in a year, or if they're going to be on some shit chain because they fork, or they prune data from the chain, or whatever, terminology or decision that the devs make. It just seems like if things can be changed that easily, why would anyone enter the space with real capital?
It's a good question. I mean, I guess it depends on your appetite for risk and uncertainty.
Okay.
So when you say real capital, I mean, we're talking billions of dollars, I guess.
I mean, a company like Riot, or just go with somebody publicly traded that we can all buy stock in today. And if the block size were to be increased, they're making, like right now, they're making money hand over fist. They're loving it. It's incredible for them. Best time ever in years. And if that were to change, which it has changed before based on activity, but it's usually, we're knocking against this upper level limit. If that were to change and rugs their fees, they're instantly losing all of their money. All their investments are now not profitable. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems like it's such a weird space, and that there is no regulation there, that I guess you're right, that it is just all about appetite for risk. You're correct. I would say in that, but that's how are we able to put faith in a system where the risk is that incredibly high, and like people right now that are, inscribing things or putting things on chain, they seem pretty certain that they're going to live there forever, and that they're doing things that do last forever, which is the Bitcoin energy forever. It's on the ledger forever, but it doesn't seem highly likely to me at the moment. Does it seem that way to you?
When you have a group of devs that control the protocol and really decide what moves are made and which direction it goes, it's hard to say anything can be forever. You have to depend on their, on them not shooting themselves in the foot to keep things running correctly. And that's kind of the Bitcoin ethos, right? Join and leave the network at will. the longest, the longest proof of work is the chain everybody's on, and our competition keeps us, keeps bad actors from gaining an edge over honest miners because it's expensive to cheat the network. I guess the same can be true of a group of people that run the protocol, right? So you have to, I guess, as with any entity, you have to hope that they have your interest, whatever that may be, at heart when they're coding these changes.
Do they ever, though? Can they?
Well, they're going to have themselves and their friends' interests at heart, sure. I guess, depending on who that is. And this, I'll try to stay away from the more conspiracy about, the core devs and things like that. And I'll stick to, they are incentivized, hopefully, by owning, transacting, and operating on the Bitcoin ledger to keep it operating as efficiently and competitively as possible, so that number goes up for them, number goes up for everybody else that's playing this strange game, right? We don't always see it play out like we may expect it to, due to either our lack of information or something going on in the background, which I guess would be another form of lack of information. But that's, I would argue that's any business venture, right? There's always an unknown component to what you're doing. There are no guarantees, except those guarantees made by, I guess, the U.S. government in the form of regulation. But do you want that? I guess that's another question.
It's just really hard for me to look at crypto right now and think that it's a solid investment. When I first got into it in 2012, I was looking at Bitcoin as forever. I was looking at it like, man, it is so dumb that I have to go out here and upload my songs to 20 different places and put in 20 different descriptions. And sure, I could do it all, I could type it out once and copy and paste it all in, but formatting's different, things look different. And it is work, even if it is just a couple clicks, it's a lot of a couple clicks. And I always looked at it as, man, I can't wait until I can store a song there, and then Spotify just pull it from there, and everybody just pull it from there. And I'm just submitting a hash or whatever it is. Here's this song, here's where all the data's stored, and now it's everywhere. And that was what excited me and interested me and, piqued my interest in Bitcoin and led me down this rabbit hole to meeting you and all the other kings. And today, here we are having the same conversations we've had two different times, it seems like. It's like early Bitcoin, 2012, 2013, this was a pretty hot topic. 2017, 2018, the hottest topic. And here we are again in 2023, and the same thing is happening again. And it just keeps seeming to me like none of these things are forever. And even the idea, it's really the idea of forever. I saw a tweet from you earlier of constant change or information.
All flows, nothing lasts.
Yeah. So with that energy, great. I love what Bitcoin aspires to be and what we all the thoughts and energy that it sparks. But it seems like there is no consensus on what the protocol should be, what it should be used for, and what the goal of it is. And of course, goals, opinions, everybody's got their own. But what I'm looking for is something that lasts forever. And it seems to me like none of these chains are technically forever. They're all compromised in their own ways.
I would agree. I think that's, anything you put a human as a part of is going to have this kind of uncertain nature to it due to the condition, That's how we are. We're greedy. We're emotional.
I mean, but the greed thing and like the I'm looking out for me and my friends thing is always happening. It's family, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
of course, we're eating over here. If you're eating with us, you're eating with us. If you're not, well,
Economies of scale.
yes. Now, if that's the case, then why or why not? Why is the Bitcoin protocol left up to devs or anyone? Why isn't this just literally etched in stone and the block size remains what it is? And yes, today inscriptions are happening. How would that work? If somebody's saying this is the untouched protocol, this is the way it should have always been, that would be a cap on block size, which doesn't sound bad to me now that I'm in the middle of this conversation. Why not keep block size where it is, keep Bitcoin BTC where it is, allow the inscriptions, they have the hash power, they have the longest chain, now they have data storage, and they have their digital gold. Isn't this the best of all worlds at this point? This is NFTs, this is digital gold, this is Ledger Forever. If they start changing things or continue to change things, make air quotes upgrades, that compromises the system. So why not lock humans out from one of these systems so that humans can actually build on something that is a stable foundation as opposed to a marketed, juiced up, air quotes, stable foundation that's never changing and constant. Like they use all these words that are like buzzwords, but literally none of them are true. Like it's just all lies and marketing.
Yep. I think something like that would be nice, but ultimately, that's kind of like a utopian dream, right? Because as we change, like I'm talking humans, as we reorganize and go through, booms and busts and other things, there's going to be a necessity to change how we account and how we do things. So, I mean, just by virtue of some new power structure coming about through time. So the idea of forever is, that's a dream. Pure capitalism is a dream. Pure communism is a dream, right? Like these are abstractions or, pretty pictures we draw in our minds and imagine something of that. Anything that happens, in this realm is going to be subject to the way the universe operates. And so you're going to get like, a socio-capitalism, or you're going to get like China, for example, with their economic free zone. So they have to play a capitalist game a little bit, to keep their communism version running. So it's never, this is how it's going to be, and this is the way it is. Even if it's perfect, even if it really is perfect, okay, he was going to get bored. Okay, somebody's going to be like, we got to change this. But to get back to Bitcoin, I mean, they did expand the block size, right? That's what SegWit was. And what do? They removed the signature data from, I forget how it works, but they removed the signature data from the way it processes the transaction. And so it's a separate payload, which, originally it was not that way. That's how they were able to get another like 260 kilobits or something of transactions into a block.
Ooh, 260
like
kilobits. That. No way. So much.
Well,
much.
Yeah. And back then,
save some for later.
It was a lot of room compared to before because usage was so low. So how do you expand this out to everyone and say, yeah, we're all using Bitcoin now. You should buy Bitcoin. Okay. So now I own Bitcoin and I never get to move it. Because whatever the fees are at the time to support those miners that you're talking about is now exorbitant. Only an organization or a bank can move it. And that's why, to digital gold, that's probably what we're going to do again, just because that's how we are. But we're going to find out, fees have to be astronomical to support the infrastructure, in the year 2140 or whatever the year is, whenever block size is essentially zero. Because that's how these miners make their money now. They're not really making them on fees. They're making it on the block reward, and they're depending on people valuing, a chain of digital signatures, which is what Bitcoin really is at that level. So I brought up those things to make a couple points. One, if you want a lot of use and you want people to be able to do things, block size has to be increased at some point. It doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be in the next 30 years. But at some point, if people are going to be using this thing, block size has to go up. Point number two, if you pull the signature data out of, Bitcoin and have it as something tacked on, that kind of goes against the white paper, right? It says that Bitcoin is a chain of digital signatures.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is fine. Again.
Yes.
Satoshi, I guess when he put out the white paper, he said, this works. This system works with the way I had envisioned it, right? He said, as soon as I released it, this thing, nobody has to do anything. They fixed bugs and things they found along the way, but his ideas were formed in that white paper, or her, or whoever, or it. The time-traveling super AI from the year 2500.
Amen.
So, then now we're going to engage in a word game, and we're going to get philosophical about it, and we're going to try and, decide what the system of ideas really is. So, you might as well just call it banker coin or anything else, right?
Yes.
Because nobody really is going to sit here and argue. Well, okay, the majority of people aren't going to sit here and argue about what does it mean to be Bitcoin? What is really going on? They're going to depend on somebody who cares a whole bunch about it to make their arguments for them, usually.
Sure.
And with that, you're right. I don't know how you spend $1 billion to mine something if you're worried about it changing, but you're doing that anyway, right? Because how can anybody say, yeah, we're never changing it again? And then,
yeah, it's like even Major League Baseball changed this year, hasn't been changed in forever. Now we have bigger bases, a pitch clock,
exactly,
all kinds of things. Yeah.
So I don't know how you can.
Okay.
You just can't. You can say it and you can market it and you can pretend, but that's not reality. Right? Even the stone wears away.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something else about it. But now I forgot. It was important. Oh, well.
It'll come to you. Well, as you're talking about this, it feels like cash, like you basically, I feel, what I heard you just explain to me is that basically fees are, if a system like this ends up working, fees will get exorbitant, and then it's going to be, has to, and then it becomes monster entities, running the nodes, mining, and responsible for pretty much holding all of the crypto and the keys. And then we just have cash again, or a CBDC that is very open and able to be sent around, open, air quotes, don't roast me for anybody that heard me say CBDC and then open together, but you know what I mean. Like, just like cash is today, of course it'd be tracked, so less the opposite of open, but you know what I'm saying. Like, everybody can get it, and there has to be like some energy exchange. If the cost to move that massive energy is so high, we're talking, horse and carriages and moving actual gold around, Wells Fargo style, train style.
There's a
early 1900s again,
it's called
and now it's just digital.
Like the amount of data we can transfer through a cable or the air never beats the amount of data we can transfer by throwing hard drives in the back of a van. Like, you can't, like the time it takes to transfer 10 petabytes or something from LA to New York, compared to a van loaded with a similar amount of data on hard drives. Like the van has more space and gets there in less time. So there is a physical aspect, based on what we're doing here.
Every time I have one of these conversations, it seems to me like in my head, I can see all the, as an audio engineer, I'm basically looking at a patch bay, and a patch bay is where all the TRS cables go in and out to connect all the machinery that's in the studio. So you can, take one output, put it into an input, vice versa through all the machines. And what I see when we're talking about these conversations, every time over the years, what I hear that we are building is a roadway system. It seems to me like this new digital infrastructure is a highway infrastructure, and that there is not going to be one chain to rule them all, and that all of these chains could have maybe not exact interoperability, but definite data redundancy in some areas, and you be able to ping chains that you trust for data as opposed to transacting on that chain. And that, like right now, it seems like, okay, why transact on BTC? Why not transact on some other chain? It doesn't even have to be a side chain or a roll. It doesn't have to be any special name. No Lightning, no nothing. It's completely own separate thing that is unrelated to Bitcoin in any way other than this entity or chain looks at BTC, only looks, and uses that data that we trust or whatever chain we're trusting to interact and exchange value, information, anything else more freely and in a more cost-efficient way. It just seems like a highway versus a city street or a one-way street or a street with a ton of traffic. I agree with you. How it pops into my head.
I think that's how it looks to me as well. I think you could think of the what movie is it? I guess you could do like Interstellar or Inception. You know what I mean? Like the deeper they go, the slower, faster time moves. Mm-hmm. And so like, you can look at Bitcoin as like the core, like the closest to the most energy dense environment. So time moves, comparatively, the farther you get away from it, right, the slower time moves. Is that right? The faster. Yeah.
The faster, be easier, be easier further away. Yeah. Be easier further away.
Yes.
And close up would be the density would cause it hard to move, be greater gravitational force. And like it could be, you could actually argue both ways, because you could say things will move quicker towards that core because it's dense. It depends on your perception.
Where you're standing. If you're standing on Bitcoin and you're transacting there, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going quite fast. But then everything around you is moving at this, it's relativity is strange. But that's, that's probably
it is
the best example for it, right? Like the ticking hands of the clock, like Bitcoin's ticking, super slow, but it has the greatest energy to it. So everything is, watching Bitcoin, hoping it ticks the way they want it to every 10 minutes or whatever it is. And then, you have your next chain that does 1 minute block times and 10-second block times and so on and so forth. And then, but because everybody agrees that Bitcoin is the harder money, right? Everything that's happening on those other chains is kind of like, well, we need to make sure that the transaction on Bitcoin goes through.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So I agree. And that brings me back to a thought of like interplanetary currencies and monies. And if we are going to be an interplanetary species and Elon wants to take us to Mars, there's going to have to be some record of accounting that is for both. And what does that look like today? Your guess is as good as mine. But the speed of data transfer does matter here. And that's where I feel that it doesn't matter if all of the data is always on Bitcoin, as long as it gets there. and we trust that it does get there eventually. We can have all of the side ledgers that compile and make their way into the one, and that could be 4 layers down. That could take a month to settle, and everything above it, the 5 layers, 10 layers above it, be out absolutely humming. It could be Mars currencies, another galaxy currency, and the data comes when the data comes, and everything settles as is. As long as those people are acting within the means of their system, it really shouldn't matter too much on the base level. It would just be accountability and transparency on some level. And when I think about that, it just makes me feel like, wouldn't it just be easier to just have cash and keep everything local? And I mean, that's what it is anyway. At the end of the day, it's just 2 people agreeing not to fight each other over the chicken. I'm not going to punch you in the face or hurt you to get this chicken. I'm going to give you something else. And the further away you get from mass humanity or civilization, it seems like the less likely that is, depending on availability of.
And here we are.
All right. So who invented Bitcoin?
I told you, the time-traveling super AI from the year 3000.
Why does it have to be the year 3000? Why is it not from
It doesn't have to be the year 3000.
block something? It doesn't even know years. I know. But what's your real energy on it? Where do you lean today? If you had to really put it in a sentence or two, where do you think this comes from? Is it just a couple genius humans working together? I know you have, what's the old guy's name that you think wrote about this long before it was called Bitcoin?
John Nash.
How did you come up with that idea? Because I really think you're the only person in our circle of what I consider incredibly knowledgeable Bitcoin users and developers and entrepreneurs. How have you arrived there independently of everyone else and stuck with that the 6 years I've known you? That's been pretty much your core idea of, that John Nash wrote about this, and we're all just parroting it or rewording his ideas. What led you down that rabbit hole, and how did you first come to that?
No man makes discoveries or ideas in a vacuum. Okay, so let's get that cleared out of the way right here. I'm not the original John Nash progenitor. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody mention John Nash in papers and just decided to read them and think for myself. So, and he wrote Parallel Control. He wrote the bargaining problem. He developed game theory alongside, von Neumann and Morgenstern. And then he also goes on to tackle the problem of ideal money. And all these ideas that Bitcoin represents feed into Bitcoin. So he didn't say, I'm going to create Bitcoin. He said, we have cryptography, and he was one of the first people to really talk about it. And then we have, computers and how they're going to be able to do cryptography way faster. We have this issue of bargaining between people and what the what money is able to do to enhance the bargaining ability compared to bartering alone. I have 3 acorns, you have a chicken, I'll give you 3 acorns. Maybe you don't want acorns. Maybe you want spears, but you can't buy a spear because nobody has one. It doesn't want to trade chicken for it. So then that's why we create, money, and then we're able to do that. There's more ways to settle that game thanks to money than there are without it. And so that's how money comes about. But, you feed all these 3 things together, these 3, main papers, and what do you get? You get something very similar to Bitcoin. So he did it, So whoever invented Bitcoin, they had to stand on the shoulders of John Nash. And, somebody like a Hal Finney would have been very close to Nash being into cryptography. And many of those early cryptography mailing list candidates would have certainly been acquainted with John Nash's work.
Interesting. It's so crazy how many theories there are out there, and
time traveling super AI.
I just can't get on board with the AI doing anything better than you. You see this tweet going around? I shared it in our Oasis chat with it had a picture of the Pentagon exploded and a drop in the market, and that was absolutely fake news. It was manipulated. The drop in SPY was not real. Of course, the AI generated Pentagon image was not real. But that points directly to what I feel must happen before we have an intelligent AI here. The markets must be wrecked, because it's undeniable, and from my perspective, that the markets are not true. And anyone that thinks that they are true is just outside of the loop of information that renders them, air quotes, true. Because the fact that I can go in and buy a share of Apple, but I can't sell it to you directly for whatever I want, send it to you as currency, buy acorns or spear from you or chickens.
Yep.
That makes it not the market rate, in my opinion. The fact that other people have access to this market outside of my access makes it not a true market rate across the board. And maybe you disagree with that. I'm sure some people will disagree with that. That like, oh, it's the price is there and you can buy it or sell it, and there's liquidity in the place where you're buying it and selling it. Sure, great. But it's undeniable that we are trading against bots, and those bots are being fed different levels of information. And even if a bot had all of the world's information, it's still not dominating the market, which somebody who had all of the information absolutely would dominate the would dominate the market. From my point of view, I just feel that if an AI were trained properly with access to all global information of markets, that the stock market must fail. And so much so that similar...
Maybe it already has. It's just failing upwards.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, I mean, they shut it off to keep it from failing upwards. You know, I literally held 30 Nokia options that I thought I was going to make a great return on that Friday morning. And instead I woke up in the market, they shut off trading for the stock that I own. Like, that's not real. That is not a true market. That is not what we have deemed an open, free economy. That is absolute control. It is absolutely rigged, if you like that word. That's what it is. I mean, by definition, they stopped the market from acting as a market. And if they're doing it on that scale so publicly and so openly, they're definitely doing it 10 layers below that are less public and less open, in my opinion.
And that's the market.
Right?
All activity is reflected.
Is it though? I don't think it is. I don't think
because even somebody stopping the market the price will reflect that action, right?
They stole my money. They effectively stole money from me. That is not the market in action.
But how did you make it?
What do you mean?
How are you making?
How was I making the money? By being an open market.
What was
the open market would have? Okay.
What was the decision that led you to deciding that those options were going to be worth so much money at some later date? What was my value,
my information asymmetry that I feel I have being tuned in to a core group of people that know what's going on, and again, I believe that a group of people, whether affiliated with one another or not, conspiring to make an outcome happen, is a free market. That is the free market acting. And then somebody shutting off, not just somebody, literally all the exchanges shutting off the ability to act freely within that market is not the market's acting. It is a very small group of people that do control the market, an actual puppeteer, marionette market. And they are opening and closing doors at will to extract money from, I'll leave the blank, you fill in the blank of what humans would be if you're going out to go to work every day and then they're just taking your money. They told you this is where you should put your money. Sounds to me like a few systems we've had before in the past.
It sounds like they had access to better information than you.
It sounds like they
You get what I'm saying?
Later than me. They had it. I knew before them what was going to happen, and they then saw that they lost the game and shut the game off. It's like
oh yeah.
I mean, I was beating them at Madden, and they just reached up and shut the game off in the middle because they were afraid to lose.
Oh yeah.
So that's not a free market. That is an absolute manipulated market. And I guess layer up, if we're going abstract and we're going Inception style here, it is the market acting as the market. Yeah. You're correct. But it is a dishonest, untruthful, controlled by a few people. And that means I am technically outside of the market. And that means that my input and my information asymmetry at any moment is actually negligent. It doesn't matter because any information symmetry I feel I have and may be able to act on for an arbitrage opportunity is immediately squashed by the king because the king says, no, young man, not today. And that to me feels like there is no system. The system that we imagine as humans day to day truly does not exist.
It doesn't. It only exists for you.
Sure.
And mine only exists for me. But that's philosophy.
Yeah, but we do have agreements, and like the agreements are I can buy options and I can sell them before they expire.
If the king lets you.
Exactly. And this is, I guess you're right. It's what you said earlier. This is not a full capitalistic market. This is capitalistic with communism baked in, and the communists just exercise their power momentarily on a Friday afternoon to show me who I am and show me what real reality was for a moment.
And I think, like a full, capitalism to the end, right? Like the perfect version of capitalism. I think then you get you're just back to nature. Like you're back to jungle law, right?
Yes,
so it's like, well, now I'm bigger and stronger than you. So.
Oh, so you're undermining my theory again. And once again, we're back to this is absolutely just pure capitalism almost. And like capitalism. So that's kind of what I've said my whole life. Well, not my whole life, just the last 6 years of having this understanding of Bitcoin really is like capitalism is inescapable. Feeling that it's socialism or communism, or you could put any other words on it that you want. You are not escaping capitalism. That's all there is.
No.
Is I eat things can eat me. That's it. That's very simple. And any other thing you want to put on I give you a chicken. That is capitalism in action. That is not socialism. That is not communism. That is capitalism. And any other.
Well, I guess we'd have to look up the definition of capitalism and make sure that we're not adding things in.
Well, that's the thing is, I think capitalism is all the things, right?
It's probably like this only has to do with money and the way we, do enterprises and things like that. So when you start doing the, we're going to come kill you if you're not stronger than us kind of deal is, I'm just saying outside the bounds, because when you're talking about capitalism, you have to be careful of the arena you're speaking in, right? Because once we start mixing things, it gets muddy. Because then we're like, well, capitalism really just,
is big bank take little bank. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Which is fine, but that's why we have to be careful with how we define things, because then we can't really talk about anything.
Right. And that's, I felt like a lot of, I guess 2018 to 2020 times, I felt like that's what was happening, is we were redefining lots of ideas and terms, and it got really difficult for me.
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
No, as I was just going to say, it just got difficult for me to have conversations because it felt like all the definitions were being muddied, and that I would say a word, but the person I was speaking to, that the phonon did not register the same meaning that I intended when I cast the spell.
Yep. That happens all the time. It's amazing we're able to talk to each other at all.
Yes, I agree.
Because how do I know that the same blue that you look at, I perceive it the same way?
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Bitcoin, baby.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I saw Crump. You met Crump while you were here. My attorney friend, Matt Crumpton. He's got a great JFK podcast if you're into it. What is it? It's Solving for JFK. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. I don't want to give him a shout out and get it wrong while I'm doing it. So, yeah, Solving JFK podcast. Go on Twitter. You can just, the @ is Solving JFK. He's got an excellent podcast. He's coming on next week to talk about all these things, and perspective is really everything. Perception is the world, is something Infinite Third has said since we first met. But it is very interesting that we all sit here and have different ideas, but we are able to communicate and get things done. And that all comes down to agreements that we've made, whether we've made them traditionally speaking them out loud to each other, or we just agree to operate in these ways. And it just always makes me think of how fragile everything is here, how we are just right on the edge of humanity existing or not existing, or not humanity, civilization. Let's go with that word. And how easily all of this could be upended and destroyed.
Somehow it keeps going.
It keeps going, baby. I was thinking about Costco. I know. Shout out Costco, baby.
Send the motherfucking jet.
So price.
I was thinking about Costco, and I was like, man, should I get a membership? I say the word subscription so often for work. Membership is not the word that I use. Should I get one? Should I get a membership to Costco? And then I'm thinking,
my thoughts.
I should have already had one. I should have had one for 20 years.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, it's interesting that a company like that exists, and we know that Costco is selling things cheaper than everybody else. How do they not just win? How are they not just taking over everything and dominate across the board, and we just all shop at Costco? Like, how is Costco not the company, I forget the name of the drink in Idiocracy?
That's probably what happened under a Brando. That's probably what happened, under a purely capitalist system. That's why we have the regulation we do. Like a lot of rules we made over time, through the U.S. government and other places, were to stop, a single entity from being the man. Like Bell Labs, right? That was a monopoly that got broken up in the 80s, and they did everything, and they were amazing at it. So, that's how Costco doesn't take over everything, I guess.
It just seems like you're just delaying the inevitable, though. It seems to me that things know where they belong. Yes. it seems to me that things know where they're going. Things go where they go. And it's really hard for me to imagine. These days I keep thinking about gravity, and everybody talks about, and I know I've said this to you before, but everybody's ooh and ah over the force of gravity and how powerful gravity is. And
it's very weak, actually.
Well, it is very weak, but it's responsible for all things. And in my opinion, and the fact that we're able to pick up a cup and throw it into the air, but it can only go so high. I mean, you can call that weak, but it's actually, really hard to throw a baseball 95 miles an hour. And
for sure.
And it's actually really hard to get a rocket into space. And that to me seems one-sided. It seems like we really give gravity and energy so much, that the force of gravity so much cheer and recognition, while nobody really gives themselves the recognition or cheer for going to the gym or going for that run or jumping high. And I know we do sometimes, but not in the magical way that everything else is comparatively looked at, like gravitational force, in my opinion. And when I think about it on a grand scale, it makes me always wonder, am I really picking up the cup, or is gravity moving me and everything to pick up the cup and drink right now and put this straw to my mouth and talk? Is that a wild thought to think that we are equally as powerful as gravity, or even maybe more powerful than gravity? Of course, like we can't escape it, the whole thing that we know of yet. Like we're in the box, can't get out of the box. But
I'll tell you what.
Go.
Caring is cool.
Yes, we should care way more. And I feel like Colby might really be hitting the nail on the head of, we should be championing sport ballers even more than we ever have. And that anyone downplaying that is misunderstanding what's actually going on here in the carnival.
Maybe.
Because hitting a baseball 500 feet is really quite the feat.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, it's a miracle.
It is. That's how I'm looking at that's how I look at everything. But it's, it's hard to do that in every moment and publicly and not be an absolute psychopath weirdo. But that's how I feel everything I'm doing. I think of like that. And I think to myself, is Barry Bonds really hitting the home run, or is the universe hitting the home run so we can cheer and giving us something to do? Yes.
It's got to be both, I think. I mean, are you Cam Gray?
No, I mean,
or are you?
No, I don't.
Are
think
you
so.
the consciousness aware that's experiencing everything through Cam Gray?
Yes, that's what I like to hold on to. Is that I am it with this body that they call Cam Gray, but I'm everything, and this body is just me, and that's at my best moments. That's how I, as an observer watching myself, and that always leads me to like, who's watching the observer?
It's turtles all the way down.
Turtles all the way down. Amen. You been reading any good books lately?
Not a thing.
Nothing? Just been dadding it up, huh?
It's been dadding it up. Haven't been reading at all.
What's your days like? I know you missed the gym for a week or two. What's your days like right now
2 weeks.
Father of 3?
I wake up very tired.
Wakes up tired.
Wakes up tired, yeah. Man, tired again. So for me, getting that interrupted sleep, like, might as well not sleep at all almost. Mm-hmm. But so I wake up. I go downstairs. Oh no, first I go into the bathroom. I take care of business in there, brush my teeth.
What time are you getting
water
up?
on my face.
7, 6?
I get up when Leela gets up.
Okay.
And she gets up anywhere between 5:30 and 7:30. Most of the time, like right at 7.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what time I'm up. Do all that, go downstairs, grab some milk, head up to Leela's room, get her woken up, hang out with her for like 30-ish minutes, just in her room. Like, I drink some milk, read her a book. We have this whole routine we do. Sit there on me, snuggle her a little bit, read a book, take her little blanket sleep sack thing off. Then we go to the window, count to 3, open the window, say hi to the tree, say hi to the grass, say hi to everything. Play with this moon and star thing. She really gets a kick out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I change her diaper. Then we go downstairs and I get breakfast ready. I feed her, I feed myself, and then let Alex and the baby sleep for as long as they can. And in that time, I'll hang out with Leela, or I'll sit outside in the sun, or I'll look at the phone. And then I'll wait for Alex to get up and then help her with whatever she needs help with. Then it's, nap time comes for Leela.
Mm-hmm.
Alex likes to do that. So I watch Sylvie like I am right now. She's still strapped to me. She's been sleeping this whole time like a good girl.
Good girl. Good job, Sylvia. Getting a podcast in during a baby nap, that's really efficient, King. That's peak efficiency.
I think I should get cheered for. We're cheering for me.
Hey!
Send the jet.
America, baby.
True athleticism.
America.
Yeah. Yep. Then Zay comes home and we do whatever until it's bedtime, I guess.
Awesome.
Just depends. I've been playing a lot of Zelda lately.
Oh, are you on Zelda? What are you playing on?
The Switch, playing Tears of Kingdom.
Nice. You liking it?
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
I love it. We're a big Zelda family. So.
That's what I was going to ask. It seemed like you guys were all playing. Has everybody got their own quest going on? Are you playing together? How does that work?
So we've been playing together, but I play a lot on my own, and then Alex will watch me, or Zay will come down and take his turn on his profile. We started with a family profile, and then we were all taking turns, but you can imagine how well that worked.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, it's fun for a little bit, but then it gets intense. Yeah.
Yeah, and people are doing things at different times. Like I'm on paternity leave, so I got more time than usual to do that stuff, and I'm probably the farthest in the game because I make the most time for it.
Sure.
But
how long are you on PTO?
I go back June 1st.
Good for you. Good little break. Over. How's Alex doing?
She's doing great. She loves holding on to that baby. We're both kind of like just in baby mode right now. 202 plus a teenager. No joke.
I'm taking notes, King. You're doing a great job.
Still got to go to soccer practice. Still got to do the school stuff.
You're doing a great job. Great job. I look at you every day. I think about you every day. I'm looking at the Kane's room right now. For anybody listening, Kay and I are expecting a son October 16th.
America, baby! America!
And I couldn't be more excited. And we just got a crib yesterday, got our car seat. His room is absolutely packed with tons of stuff. And every time I'm looking at it right now, we were going to do it today. And Kay was like, I have too much going on. So we're pushing it a couple days. But I'm thinking about you all the time. And how many jobs you really have. And I'm seeing those things start to compound in my life of, I do have a day job. I also make music. I'm also podcasting. I also have a relationship that I've been in for 17 years. I've also got friends and family that I need to see.
Amen.
And a baby on the way. And it seems like it is absolutely nonstop. I'd have it no other way. I want it more nonstop. And speaking of that, Kendra today saw a lady. She's been teaching kids yoga at a school in Dublin for the school year, and like young kids, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. And one of the ladies there today just is getting ready to have her third baby in July. And Kay was like, are you guys done? Close to done? You having more? And she was like, oh, we haven't even thought about quitting yet. We don't know how many we want, but we're gonna have more babies for sure. We haven't picked a number. And Kendra's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I can't even imagine having 3 kids and thinking we're gonna have way more. And that's woo. How do you even have time for them? You know what?
You don't.
Like if you
I'm not gonna lie to you, you don't. And you feel bad for the time that you can't give to the one that may need the time, and spread it around. So it's, I'll say it's not for the faint of heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
but I got a lot of love to give.
I know you do. You do. You great job. You show up everywhere all the time. That's what I love about you. I think that's why we resonate so heavily and have formed the friendship we have, is because you really show up, and that's what I look for in men that I'm friends with. So thanks, King.
I love you too.
I love you very much. What else is going on right now?
Well, I like talking about Bitcoin. So
I know.
We don't want to make this a Bitcoin podcast.
No, I mean, it is fine. It's fine. We could talk about Bitcoin all day.
Well, here, I'll just say this.
Yeah,
then we can drop this up. I'll just say Bitcoin's one of those things that makes you ask a bunch of questions about other things, because it's so new. They don't have a lot of textbooks written about it yet. So it's really a play as you go and figure it out and see what it's made of kind of deal.
Should there even be textbooks?
Killer app. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I'm sure you have to. It has to be in textbooks. Maybe not about Bitcoin, but certainly it'll be in textbooks as money can be anything.
Yes. Well, money is anything.
Yes, it truly is. Whatever we can agree has value.
That's why I don't understand why we need more or new. And we're talking about having I love that people refer to Bitcoin as a ledger of truth. And that makes me laugh all the time. Lies can't be stored on Bitcoin. And then they're like, oh, well, it's the truth that they lied. And it's well, maybe. Now we're getting down to intention and what the intent of X data is, or was it malicious? Was it to farm a reaction? Was it to manipulate a court system or a judge or whatever it is?
But that's outside of Bitcoin, right? Within Bitcoin, there are no lies, because you have a extremely hard number to create that hashes a certain way, and that data, there is no, we don't know if the data went there. We don't know if the value was exchanged or not. It did. Here's the transaction. Here's when it happened according to the system, and here's who it belongs to, or which account it belongs to.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
So
that's
the truth of it. Yeah. The accounting.
But there's definitely the truth ends at some point, and that's where, when I first got into Bitcoin, I got in it I was looking for ways to more easily transact large amounts of cash. And that led me down a rabbit hole of learning about money and learning about how these systems work. And eventually, very early, I'd say 2013-ish, I came to the conclusion that why don't I just get a bunch of Bitcoin, start my own bank, and people can use what we can denote a cash system, or I can I can write down some seed phrases, and we can literally, because the money, as long as the money stays in your circle, and it's really all about trust anyway, then why not just keep it in my circle and let these keys denote money as opposed to having to move anything? Because really, when you're getting into really large amounts of money, a lot of times is just being handed back and forth in strange ways. And it's never really exiting that liquidity system in itself. It's just because it changes hands doesn't mean it changed circles of trust. And as long as it remained within that circle of trust, I thought to myself, well, I could just I'll just give him a seed phrase. He'll be able to pull it up and look at it. That's all he wants to do. He just wants to look at it and know that he has it. He already
That's fractional reserve banking, baby.
And it feels like that was my immediate conclusion once I kind of dug to the bottom of what Bitcoin could do for me in the moment. And now 10 years later, 12 years into my Bitcoin dive, I'm right at the same exact place. I'm at a place where I do not trust anything or anyone, and I feel like I'm only being sold mechanisms that I have to trust some group of humans. And that's the whole reason I got here in the first place, is because I didn't want to trust, and I don't trust most humans. And I feel bait and switched, really, on it. Like, and that's my whole energy of Bitcoin right now. And Crump, earlier I was going to bring this up. Crump tweeted the other day, he's been DCAing into Bitcoin since January 1st, and he's up $2.17.
All right.
And I mean, pretty cool that you're up $2.17 in 5 months of DCA and something, you know? And that's how I feel across the board. I feel that Bitcoin has not lived up to its promise or my perception of what it could be. And I wonder how many what I would consider informed people feel like Bitcoin is living up to what it is supposed to be. And I honestly feel disappointed about the industry, about a lot of things that are going on, about where we're putting our time and attention and energy in the industry. I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody's here because they add value. They're all here looking to extract.
Extracting, yeah.
And that makes me just not want to participate. I would rather create. None of these people are creators. Like literally every NFT project that made content is dead. I mean, they're all out of funds. Most of them have completely dried up or quit. And the ones that haven't are doing Twitter Spaces as their main content now. And they're saying like, you know, we write stories and we're going to change Hollywood. And it seems delusional to me to think that you're going to change. Like, how are you going to do better than Disney? How are you going to fail better than Disney when Disney can fail with $100 million over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? And then they get one hit and now they recouped all that money. You don't have 10 swings. Disney has 100 swings. And that is the industry. And that's going to maintain, from my perspective, that's going to be the industry forever. And I don't see a future where maybe one individual, I just don't see that happening, is able to compete with something like a Snow White or a Lion King or a Mickey Mouse. And people are like, oh, I'm just going to make this IP and it's going to go. And these are the early days. It's going to, like Pudgy Penguins, they rolled out their toys yesterday. Like, I find it borderline sad that people are excited about this.
I guess to play devil's advocate here, how about something like, you know, like people that write books, like Harry Potter, for example. They didn't always exist.
Yes.
And somebody made that.
The book.
You know, Jake, and
not a movie.
And now there's a bunch of books. So are you saying like a movie?
I'm saying writing's always been the case. Yeah, writing's fine. And like you can write and you can create a thing that is a book, a writer. But to take it to the next level, that is like how much did Harry Potter, let's Google, how much did Harry Potter
But now
want?
Harry Potter is a movie.
No, I know, but it didn't get made by J.K. Rowling. It took somebody putting the $1 billion into it.
Sure.
Let's see. Pull it up, Cam. Nobody's ever said that. I thought about putting a pull it up Jamie tag on here, but I was like, nah, I don't know. All right, Harry Potter won $250 million budget to make the movie and market it. So
I could have done it for $150 million.
I bet.
I'm telling you, I would have.
125 just on marketing alone. I know you could have, but would it have led to 7 or 7.2 or whatever, however many?
Because the content was already there.
It wasn't, though. It wasn't.
I guess, yeah. Well, books, the movies are never as good as the books.
Sure. The energy is always first written by an individual, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
What I don't agree with is that a community.
I have the production capacity. I don't have all the people I can come in and be like, hey, I need you to build this set. I need you to build this, design these costumes. I need you to distribute this out to some investors. Yeah, I mean, it takes a whole city to make a whole.
I'm like, as I look at the space, yes, literally absolutely a whole city that picks up and moves and goes to different locations and does everything. And then I look at it from this perspective of like, right now, everybody's so focused on video. NFT projects had video animations, Deadheads, Roads to Rome. Roads to Rome, I think, is the best one, and they gave up pretty quick. They were looking to sell the entire IP for a fairly reasonable price, something that like I personally would consider picking up and still do. I think it's incredible for the 6 episodes they have and the price that they were looking at to sell it all. I think that is a great way to start, is to say, we have this content and we can sell it to somebody. I think that is pretty meaningful place to start. We can form these ideas, get them from A to C, but we can't take them from C to Z. And I just see like South Park has such a huge budget, Simpsons such a huge budget, BoJack Horseman $1 million an episode, and people are thinking that they're gonna just create animation with some of these animation tools that are coming out. They're like, it's so easy. It's absolutely not easy. And on top of not being easy, the video's getting easier. The sound will never be easier. Never. It's never going. Literally in every animated show you've ever watched, the sound is the most intriguing part because the sound was not recorded. There is no baseline for like, what does a spaceship in the Jetsons sound like, or whatever, what does a spaceship in a movie and Avatar?
What a great noise
that takes place. Yes, all kinds of great noises. But these great noises a lot of times are made by sound engineers that are combining 15, 20, 25 sounds, synthesizing many of them, combining them into one thing that we call a sound. And eyes are very easy to trick. You can only see so many frames per second. That's why you can flash an image on a screen in between or on a frame and nobody even really notice it. And that's a subliminal message.
24 or something.
Yep.
Like 24.
But you can't do that with audio. You can't like hide a fart sound in a song and it be a joke. You can't put a little blip somewhere. It's like it would have to actually be inaudible. And once it's inaudible, it renders it obsolete. And all these people in this space that are talking about like video's going to be so easy. Video's only half of the product of a finished moving picture today. Unless you're going to they literally had silent films and then talkies. And like if you're going to revert to 1912 and do your 1920 and do silent films, good for you. But the sound design is what is not going to be replaced. And I don't believe that it can be, for the simple fact of it actually takes creativity, and that the wind sound in the bank of wind sounds that it might pull from might not invoke the ethereal energy that you're looking to provide this scene with as a listener who knows that this little whistle in this wind is actually very eerie and makes you feel a certain way and invokes a certain feeling. I feel like the entire space is really just clueless to what it takes to make a hit show, what it takes to make a hit song, what it takes to make a production. And, it feels like we've entered this era where people think it's easy to produce things, and that's why they don't produce good things. is because they think it's easy. Like they're spending as much time generating an image for AI as it would take me to open a session for music. And then I spend a day programming hi-hats, you know, or whatever it is, and making sure that like every sound, I don't use grids. I don't just, a lot of times I will play it, but then I have to go back and I perfect it and I make sure every note is exactly where it's supposed to be. And I don't care how long it takes. I know that I'm putting the note where it belongs because that's where my body, my being says it belongs. That's where it resonates. And that is not what you're doing by creating anything with AI. And it just feels lost to me. It feels misunderstood.
Manufactured?
Yeah, not even
like too robotic. I don't know.
Yes.
Like there's no soul.
Yeah, there is no soul
as you're developing the images, like because the machine's doing it, and then
I don't think so. And that's where, you know, I tweeted this the other day. I said this is the best. I said, what did I say? I don't want to misquote myself, but I posted this, and like I really do believe this. I know it's a silly thought to say about a tweet that you posted yourself, you know, but I said, this is the best tweet about AI video in existence at the moment. This tweet about AI video is better than all AI videos. And the tweet is, I love it. To it, everything is as alive as it is. So it naturally brings everything to life, which creates a watercolor effect of movement in AI video. It's fighting against what it knows to deliver what we think is true. And when you ask it to make a video, it cannot distinguish entities in the video. It sees it as one. So as one subject moves, as we perceive a subject, moves through space-time in this image, it, who is not subject to space-time and sees everything as a timeless, formless exchange of information, literally is making the tree mold, evolve in real time. That tree is changing as a total entity with the whole image, as opposed to the tree being its own subject in that image or in that scene where the wind is blowing or a kid is swinging from a branch or whatever it is. They bring it all together as if it's one it brings it all together as if it's one being. And I don't know if it's ever going to be able to distinguish that. Like, you're literally going to have to be able to tell it that, hey, this tree back there is its own thing. This sidewalk is its own thing. This car passing by is its own thing. That cloud above is its own. All the clouds above are its own thing. All of these raindrops are their own things. And that's the level that we would need of thinking, of consideration for it to be able to put out a series of images that, when flipped through quickly, would create the illusion of a moving picture. Because that's what it truly is an illusion, and what it's providing us is not an illusion. It is actually a moving picture. So, like, do you understand what I'm saying?
I actually do understand what you're saying, and I was going to say that's going to take a lot of compute. What you want to
You're
do.
right, and that's I just
probably
think it's way
the
easier.
Entire universe worth, which is like. So then we get
are.
back to it.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
And that's where I think that, like, we are not. Everybody that's excited about like disrupting Hollywood is confused on the miracle that is a photographer that understands lighting, depth perception, lenses, photography,
right.
mirrors, cameras, lighting, all the things, and the subject, the actual Harry Potter. What's his name? The boy's name?
Oh,
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. Yep.
And him in the moment being able to change his face naturally of an instantaneous, I went from shock and awe to surprise and love and everything
well,
is fine.
You know what's going to have to happen? AI is going to have to start booting up itself as individual entities and becoming the actors.
Well, I mean, isn't that what we've already done here? That's what I'm trying
That's
to.
what. Yeah.
Yes.
We're just doing it all over again. That's what we do.
So but it feels like we're just going down a cul-de-sac, not entering an information highway that we haven't been down before. It feels like this is already done, and to me, it feels like a waste. Like, why are humans pursuing this when they could just use their bodies that were gifted to them by the universe to make the thing?
Because we're being attracted. We're being attracted through a form of technological determinism towards, that point, whatever that point is. So, like, yes, on one hand, we actually should do what you're doing and, like, enjoy our bodies and figure out how amazing everything is. But on the other hand, we got somewhere to go. We got somewhere to be. And we're moving that way, not necessarily of our own accord, certainly not individually, but collectively, there's some magnet pulling us towards a certain kind of outcome, it appears. Certainly, absolutely, technologically.
Man, it just seems like a waste of time and human energy to me.
There is no waste of time.
I know, but I'm saying creatively, from a creative mindset of I'm an artist, I'm going to make things, and you're sitting at home thinking, okay, all I have is this computer and these prompts, these words I can type in. This is going to get the job done. It's like, no, it's not. Did you have an idea to start with? Like, do you have a vision of what this thing looks like? That to me is art.
That's why the chip, right? Like that's why the brain interface. It's going to be like, give me your vision, and you're going to, here's what I'm thinking. It's be like, yeah, I'll run with that. Again, it's not if anymore. It's when.
What resolution is HD?
Goes, but
what resolution is HD? It's like it's 4K. It's like 37. 30.
HD isn't it just 720p? Like that's the beginning of HD, and then 1080. And
low end. Yeah. So I was going with the 4K. So I'm going with Ultra HD if that's 4K.
Oh, it's like 3920 by
2180. Yeah, 2200, right around there. Yes, you're like it's like 3800 by 2188. Yeah. I think that really is it. Is that really what it is? I gotta know now. What's the exact?
4K looks pretty good, but it doesn't look as good as 8K.
It looks
4 times better than 1080.
2160 by 3840. I saw this months ago. I think Elon tweeted that his son asked him, "Hey Dad, what's the resolution of reality?" And what is it?
It can't be in pixels, right? It's got to be in whatever our
computation,
whatever our eyes.
It's got to be. So I mean, how many triangles can we see at a time?
Yeah, there you go. Do you know the answer? Did he say the answer?
No, I mean, how could you know the answer? Like, what if you could figure this out? Then you would just scale to reality. That you just do it immediately. You'd just be like, okay, well, this next movie is going to be in reality, and like, we already did. Like, I don't understand. We already did this. We have Shakespeare. We had the plays. We've had everything, and now it's like we'll put them on a screen, and like that to me, the screened version is the dumbed down version of the real life version.
Well, yeah, because it's easily reproducible and transmittable, right? Like you can reach 1 billion people with screens. You can reach, what's the max you can have a play? 20,000? I don't know.
I would like to know. I would like to know what the max
and have
amount
a
of
good
people.
viewing experience and have a good.
It doesn't have to be at once.
A baseball game is 60,000, right? Like,
sure,
you can have 60,000 people watch a baseball game in person and be like, okay, yeah, I could see. Basically, I can't really see the ball from the top, but
yeah, you can't see it all. Like you can't really see it all from the top.
Yeah,
at least I can't.
That's
really
what the screen is, though, right? The screen's like, okay, well, you can't be in the energy, but you can get a taste of it,
right?
And we'll broadcast it to 10 million homes or whatever the number is.
Where all have you been with your travels from military and everything else? Evan served in the Air Force, if I'm remembering correctly. And can you tell us
4
anything
years.
about that? Can you tell us like what years and where you were, if you'd like to? Don't feel like you have to.
Yeah, I'd love to. It was 2008 to 2012.
What a
And
time.
I went to, really a cool time. I think it's a time that's much different than today. There's
Yes.
a lot of similarities, but I really feel like as you get to like 2013, 15, 16, 18, things really got a lot different.
Yeah, Instagram
People-
changed a lot.
Yeah,
2012.
people had phones.
Yep.
Because like the iPhone came out like 2010, right?
2007 was first iPhone.
2007?
Yeah, but it really started to pop. Like you're right. Like 2010-ish is when everybody started to have one. And then 2012
Yeah.
is when Instagram came out for iPhone users only.
There you go. So it really was different before then, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But-
'cause you weren't holding up your phone everywhere and doing everything on your phone. Yeah.
And I was in Turkey from 2000, late 2008 to like early 2011, and I just didn't. I had like a crappy flip phone when I was there. I didn't.
What
care.
kind of phone?
I didn't even use it. I couldn't even tell you today.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you.
So you went straight
But
to
it was
Turkey
old.
from the States? You went straight to Turkey? It was basic training to
I
Turkey?
went basic training to tech school, Mississippi, Biloxi, to Turkey, Incirlik Air Base near Adana, which is 80 miles from Syria. It's on the Mediterranean. Adana isn't, but it's very close. So I really enjoyed that time, by the way, even though it's like, so to go from like Chicago to Istanbul, like that's one of the straight flight locations. That's 10.5 hours. Just to
Jeez.
give you an idea how long you're on a plane. And then you're going from Istanbul to Adana, or if you're just flying to Turkey, not with the military, you're going again, probably to Istanbul, or you're going to have a connecting flight in Germany or Sweden or Italy or France or somewhere, and you're going to be trailing for a long time. But so, from like me, St. Louis, you're on a plane for an hour and a half, then you're on the plane for 10.5 hours, then you're on the plane for another hour or so from Istanbul to Turkey, or like Adana or whatever.
Do you have any say
That's
in
a
those
long
flights? Or they're just like, you're like, I need to go from here to there. They just give you a ticket and like, see ya. And you just do what the ticket says.
Yeah.
Don't miss your flight.
No. You better not.
So, well, how was
Better
Turkey? What was it like in Turkey? Like when you arrived, did it feel incredibly foreign? Was there an adjustment period?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I mean, Turkey is as Europe as you can get without being Asian. You know what I mean? Like without being
No, I
Middle
don't.
Eastern.
Tell me.
Well, it's closer. So Turkey and Istanbul especially is unique because it's on both continental plates. So like you can be in Istanbul on the Europe side, and then you can take a cab 20 minutes and be on the Asian side, right?
Wow.
But the bulk of the country is in Asia. And that's one of the unique things about Istanbul is that it's the only city on two continents, and like it's like good for natural harbor and everything. So it's really sought after for like the course of Western civilization. Everybody wanted to live there. Like Constantinople, that's where he used to hang out, Constantine or whatever. I went to visit Istanbul quite a few times, and I went to the Hagia Sophia, which is that big church that was, it was a church first, then it was a mosque, and then it was a museum, and now it's a mosque again. But it's truly an incredible piece of architecture. Turkey has history from, 10,000 years ago.
Wow.
And you can't get that here. The oldest man-made thing you're gonna see here is, if you're lucky, 400 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe that place in Arizona or New Mexico where they have the city built into a cliff. Like maybe that's pretty old, but Yeah, there's nothing like, especially a place like Turkey, which has had so many different civilizations on top of it, to like see the course of that humanity's taken in the last 10,000 years.
Can you see it
So,
in the city? Can you see like are there old parts of the city and then very
oh
modern
yeah,
parts, or?
yeah. I'll give you a little anecdote. Like when I visited there the first time, I did all the tours and did all that stuff, and like the shops. It's like this area called the Hippodrome where they have like a couple obelisks from like 200 AD or whatever, and then some buildings around it. There's a bunch of like restaurants and shops and modern buildings around it, hotels and things. And so that looks pretty modern, but there's like the cisterns that the Romans built. And if you go down in there, I mean, that's all 2,000-year-old concrete columns that are holding up everything new, today.
Oh my
so
God.
So like the road you were just driving on to get to whatever place you're going to is being supported by these, super old aqueduct columns.
Bro,
pretty trippy.
How are they able to build
Incredible.
such incredible infrastructure then, but we can't build a bridge that's lasts for 50 years?
They had special concrete back then. Like the way they mixed the concrete was like lost to time. And I think they only recently, and I'm talking like last 5 years, figured out what they did to make their concrete so strong.
Really? They have figured it out though? So we're in a a revitalizing concrete era here. We're in concrete evolutionary period.
We're not, because they needed so much less of it compared to us. And that, now you're talking about adding or changing the way that we produce it and the expense incurred to do so versus, just keep using the concrete we have now. So probably it'll never be like that again.
Man. So over there, are you like I'm not, my dad was in the military, but it was, I don't hear too much about it. It was a short stint of basic training to Vietnam for a couple years and then home, and he was a DI here. And did you feel like you were part of the Turkish community in a locale, or were you an implant that felt out of place? Like, did you become, and I know like this could get more personal for you, but like, did you feel like you belonged to Turkey at any point while you were there, or did you feel like a foreigner on a foreign land?
I felt like a foreigner. I felt like I was in a very foreign place in the beginning. But then, I met my now ex-wife there, and we had a baby, and I, immersed myself in the culture. Even before I met my wife, I had like decided to learn the language, so I speak it.
You speak Turkish?
Conversationally, for sure. I can't, like if we went there, I could get us everything we needed. I couldn't argue about Bitcoin.
Yeah, sure. How did you learn it? What was your course that you did, or did you teach yourself, or just get out and speak?
I taught myself using the internet, and then I would hang out, speak to people with it. So like I'd be learning it on the computer, and I'd like go through the vocab and the way the sentence structure works and all that, and then I'd try and like piece it together and talk to somebody.
Wow. Which
got easier as I, had a family over there for a while. I guess I still do technically. They're all very nice to me. And that's one thing I admired about certainly the Turkish culture is very friendly, and they have, I would say, much stronger familial bonds than we do, and certainly even their friendships seem to be a little closer, just a little more warm, like a little warmer kind of people, I would say.
They've been around longer.
But
they've got more stability. I think maybe more stability in their genetics than our 300-year-old empire.
Yep, and the country's 98% Muslim, and they're, for all intents and purposes, there's really one race there. Like, it would be pretty racist towards like my black friends, because they don't see black people that often. So they're all like mystified, But I guess that's what you get when you have a very similar group of people around each other all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And plus the climate's really friendly in most places in the country, and they have all this history they can claim as their own, whether or not it's true. But it's a beautiful country, and certainly a very unique place, geographically even.
Mm-hmm. Have you been back since you left in 11?
Oh yeah, I've been back 3 times.
Nice. And does it feel different going back? Does it feel like semi-home now? Like you've been there and have?
It does feel like home. It feels like returning to a part of me.
Wow.
Honestly, it's an emotional trip for me. I really loved it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of friends and, like I said, family there, and it definitely feels like, again, returning to a part of myself.
Awesome. That's very cool.
I love it.
Yeah, you joined the military in 2008, 2007? Yep. Okay, 2008. And then went straight to basic training? Where'd you do that at?
San Antonio, Texas.
Nice. And then flew out of San Antonio to Turkey.
No, they put me on a bus to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of funny being in the Air Force getting put on a bus, but it was a nice bus ride.
Being in the Air Force getting put on a bus. You're disappointed about that? I thought we were flying around here.
I really was. Yeah, this is the Air Force. What are we doing?
Oh, you're funny.
I said, this is for the Army. What's going on?
What kind of bus? An Army bus or a Greyhound?
It's like a regular Greyhound bus driven by an Army person.
Okay.
Or an Air Force person, I guess. That's a job in the military, is bus driver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they got anything that is a job in the real world is a job, like in the military.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You have to support, entire cities, which a base basically is. So.
Yeah, I guess, correct. I didn't ever think of it in that depth. And I've not really had too many conversations that, usually the conversations about military careers or experiences are not based on the things we are talking about I feel, at least in my life.
Yeah. I had a very positive, or mostly positive experience compared to a lot of other people. So that's probably the difference.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I did IT in the Air Force, so I was just working on computers. Same thing I do now, almost.
Yeah, but that feels Air Force-y. It feels like that would be that's something I would think that's what the Air Force does. But
and they do, do. And I did I had a top secret SCI clearance at the time, so I was working on a lot of top secret stuff. Not like, I wasn't like creating dinosaurs in a lab, but the communications that were running through the equipment I worked on were like, supported people downrange and all that kind of stuff.
Fun.
So it was interesting.
Fun. How old was Zaid when he came to the States, when you brought your son to the States?
Oh, don't do a transcontinental airline ride with a 1-year-old.
Oh. Not fun?
Not fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to traveling, but Kay says we're not going to do it for, at least she says 6 months. We're staying home, not doing much for 6 months, and I feel that. And we'll see, how that goes, but that's her energy right now is I'm not going to want to travel. I'm going to want to stay home and hang out even through the holidays. We're debating right now if we're even going to participate in family holidays with a 2.5-month-old. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be tough because you're right in flu season too. So they don't have any immunity yet. So
man, I see so
at least
many
you have
people.
A nice excuse if you want to be solitary this year.
I just feel like my people are old. My people are getting up there in age, and I don't want to not be with them in heaven when we're in heaven together, for fear, out of fear. It's like, what's going to happen? The baby's going to get sick? Yeah, babies get sick. What I'm really shocked at is how many, seems like a lot of parents right now are getting very sick with toddlers around. And I've talked about it a lot. I know there's several things that we could discuss that maybe are adding to that.
It's the masks.
Yeah. Well, when we were kids, our parents weren't sick. Our parents were not sick all the time, missing work and not going to work and out all the time, laying in bed all the time. Like if our parents were at least my world, if my parents were laying in bed or asleep on the couch, it's because they were drinking, not because they were sick. And it seems like a lot of people with toddlers right now are very sick. And I don't know if that's normal, and I'm just like getting my first glance at it, and maybe our parents weren't maybe not as, I just don't remember, but I just don't remember anybody being sick when we were kids. Like it was almost like adults never get sick. Like that's how I really felt. I felt like kids get sick, but adults never get sick. And I always like looked at like adults as I remember thinking this very vividly, like adults do not get sick. And like there's a certain age or a time that you hit where you're not getting colds and flus and things anymore. It's because like my mom was never down with the flu. She had 2 kids, single parent, and she was never laying on the couch down for 2 days with a fever. It was like other things that would interfere, but that was never the case. And maybe I just am not remembering it, but even with my brother, he was very sick as a kid. My parents never got sick, and I wasn't sick either.
Can I ask you something? Do you think that there's more like worldwide travel going on now than there were like 20 years ago, I guess, 30 years ago? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's just more people, so like what's the population of Earth increased over the last 30 years? A lot. Is it 30% of the world's population in the last 50 years or whatever? Maybe.
I don't know.
Probably. I would assume so. I mean, it's growing pretty fast, and that means more travel, more germs being exchanged. But that to me kind of makes me feel like immune systems should be stronger, not weaker. Like we're being exposed to more. We're more of a unit than we've ever been globally.
Well, what if it's like people are at home, like not going out as much as they used to, and there's all these like different things going around, and so like then they do go around people and like boom, you're sick because you never go around anybody. Something like that.
I mean, definitely something to be said about maybe our cautiousness over the past couple years has led to something like that.
And if we're talking the past couple of years, I mean, hands down, you're putting the mask on so you don't get COVID or whatever, and you're blocking out 90% of the other illnesses that are around there. So, like, of course, you take the mask off and you go out again. Of course, you're going to get sick a whole bunch, especially at daycares, and then, bring them home or school or whatever. We got sick more this year than I would say is normal. Mm-hmm. There was this one time when Zay was 5, he got strep throat like 5 times, and I got it 3 of those 5 times. Jeez. That kind of sucked. But
that was your tonsils?
Oh yeah, he does too.
I was wondering.
He said the doctor said if he got it one more, he was going to get his tonsils removed, and he I guess they just willed it not to happen after that.
The doctor told me that, and then it came immediately.
Oh, nice. So no tonsils for you.
No tonsils. Had them taken out. I had same thing. College, 2005, summer. I was probably healthier than I had ever been in my life up to that point, working out, and got strep. Got over it, and got it again like a month later. Got over it, got it again like 2 weeks later, and the doctor was like, "Hey, you're too old to be getting strep." I was 22, getting ready to be 22. I was 21. And he's like, "You're too old to be getting strep. You can't be getting it like this. Like, I don't know what's going on." I was like, "I'm just going to school." And I was like just in college. So I was being exposed to a lot, and I was pushing myself pretty hard. Our school has no breaks. You go to school 24/7, literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you barely get any holidays. Like, you get Easter Day and a day or two around it when I was going to school, and everything's attendance based. So you can't miss any classes, or you lose all your friends that you were in school with. So like, you'd literally just be on completely different schedules, and then you're going 24/7. You would literally not see them anymore. So if you were sick, you had to maintain your attendance, or you were going to lose the crew that you had just spent, I had just spent over 17 months with or something. And
crazy.
The doctor was from Ohio. Went to Ohio State. We were in Florida, and he was like, "You got to get your tonsils taken out." So I flew home, had my tonsils taken out, and 7 days after having them out, I was feeling great. Playing with a puppy that my mom had just got, and my stitches, my sutures started hemorrhaging in my throat, and we had to jump into my mom's truck, and I'm literally spitting up blood into a bucket, and we're going 80 miles an hour down the highway to a hospital so I can have my sutures cauterized to stop the bleeding. And it was not a good day. I was gargling Propel. Shout out Propel. Save me. I don't know what it is, but something about the great Propel that I was gargling, I felt like helped me, because I couldn't be swallowing the blood. They told me not to swallow the blood on the phone. So, or like, we'll have to pump your stomach too. I was like, all right, well, I won't do that. So I was just spitting. But then I got there and they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to cauterize my sutures or nothing. They gave me a shot, something that starts with a D, maybe Demerol, maybe something like that. They're like, "Calm down. You're going to feel good in a minute. Your heart rate's going to slow down." And then like 5 minutes later, I forgot it was even happening. Just hanging.
You're like, "I'm good."
Yeah, I was just hanging out. And he was like, "Now you got to sit here for like an hour." And I sat there for a while, and then ready to go home, and no problems after that. I haven't been sick really pretty much since then. That was 16 years ago, and I've probably been sick seriously like maybe 4 days in that period of time, and
all that water.
Have not been to the doctor at all. Yeah, I mean, it is water. Yeah.
I have noticed that a lot of times that I've gotten sick, like a cold or something, has always been like when I'm overexerting myself, or like I need, like mentally, I need a break, and then it comes. Yes. I think there's something to that.
Absolutely. I think people think that they've heard Diddy and other people like, "No sleep, you gotta go, go, go," and like they think like that's true energy. Like, that's not real energy. You think Diddy's not sleeping? Like, are you kidding yourself?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
That's just talking shit to get you to not sleep, and then you're gonna not be able to perform. Like, that's killing the competition with a seed planted of like, you shouldn't be sleeping and you shouldn't be getting rest. And I think that's what's happening right now with like what we were just talking about, of a lot of people getting sicker. I think what it is the stakes are higher across the board. It's very expensive to do pretty much anything, and it does feel like you need to be going all the time out here. And the only people I see that aren't going all the time really are people that don't go any of the time. It's almost like you're either going and that's what you do, you're a person that goes, or you're a person that barely does anything. And they both can work at the same company, just some of them don't work and collect paychecks. And that's...
Yeah. It's got to be like anthills, right? Like 80% of the, or 20% of the ants do 80% of the work.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I got my AC guy coming to do some, preventative maintenance or whatever.
My king, you never have to apologize for me. We're not live. We're hanging out. We're just here. I appreciate your time very much. And anytime you need to take a break, you go right ahead. Anytime you need to end it quickly, you go right ahead. That's what we're trying to do here. Time is the only luxury. Is we're trying to use all the time we have.
Right.
So I think you're doing a good job.
Not teetotal, but title.
Title. That's the title of the book is Title. Get it?
I know, but I always pronounce it Teetle. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I mean, I guess, and I used the wave after it because it's tidal wave.
Wow. See, I'm a little retarded.
No, you're not. You're a genius. You're a genius.
I miss many obvious things like that. So
no, you don't.
Keeps me humble, I guess.
I think the things that I think are obvious are like the least. That's what Kay always tells. I speak condescendingly to people sometimes because something will be very obvious to me that is absolutely not obvious to somebody else, and that sometimes invokes a response from me that I should probably be better about, but it is what it is. And Kay's like, come on now, not everybody sees what you're seeing. I'm like, I guess you're right, correct.
I do the same thing.
True. I'm doing better though. Definitely doing better. And I should be because I have a son on the way. So I need to be doing better.
Oh, you're gonna be excellent. You're already excellent.
I'm trying to be excellent.
Far beyond me, my friend.
No, why would you say that? Like Kay and I talk about you and Alex, and we're like, how do they do it? What are they doing? How do they get it done? And like, we're nervous to have one child. You have three, and a teenager. My
we're
king.
Crazy people.
You go to soccer tournaments for the weekend.
That's right. We love it.
I know you do. Amen. Are you guys going to have another one?
No, I guess not. At least not
today.
anytime soon.
Not today.
So,
yeah.
You know how I feel about it.
I think you're going to have 5 kids. Just so you know. That's what I see from you. I see 5.
That's a lot of love.
You have it though. It's coming.
Yeah, I do.
She young buck still, baby. You very young. All you cats very young that in the Oasis.
So are you.
And I know. Shit, I feel younger than I did 10 years ago, honestly. 10 years ago I felt old. I was approaching 30 with the idea of like who's a good rapper in their 30s? You know, I'm like, who's a dope rapper? And I'm like, whoa, Jay-Z, but that's it. Like that was the only one. And really everything here is about your mindset, of course, but things have really changed. I mean, looking at a 40-year-old 25 years ago, they looked ancient. They looked wrecked. They looked so old. They
look young.
Now I honestly have been playing with this energy a lot, thinking about Kane, like going to college and like what, just thinking about that plan. You know, we're setting up savings accounts and things like that, and family are asking questions. So the thoughts are there, and it's definitely popping in my head of, I think college is almost today, the way I'm thinking today, almost mandatory. It's been looked at for the past, I'd say, decade, 15 years now, as who needs to go to college? Why would you go to college? So stupid, so expensive. Yeah. And I couldn't disagree with that more. I mean, 2 of my best friends, Jamie and Bill, I met at college. And to say that I wouldn't have spent $100,000 to meet both of them today, are you fucking kidding me? Like, people would pay $100,000 to meet Jamie today. Like,
that's true.
And
that's true.
And like right now, no question. And that energy, I don't think, Colby really changed my perspective on this, and then aging a little bit, just getting more experience. I look at college now as, I don't even know if you shouldn't even pick a major for a year or 2. You should just go to college and have fun, and like that should be it. You shouldn't be 18 years old thinking about what am I going to do with the rest of my life. Yeah, if you're going to die at 60, you should probably figure it the fuck out. But
you're going to live to be somebody is going to live forever very soon. I don't know.
Let's go there. Let's talk about this. This is a fun. So I just brought this up. One of my friends talking about one of his job going away, and I said, well, the odds of your job going away and the odds of the person who could make your job go away choosing to quit, those odds of that person choosing to quit are almost as high as that same person finding out in their lifetime that they're not going to die. at least that's my perspective right now on, I feel like we're very close to figuring out, and I think that may be what AI does best, is start to figure out health benefits and disease cures.
Yeah, for sure.
And it feels like we're very close, like you said, to somebody, maybe let's not call it forever at this moment, but like being young at 100 and still doing everything and being able to fully participate and not worried about being sick and unhealthy. And then at that point, where, what's after that? And why did you rush through life? And why were so many moments filled with angst or anger or bitterness or for something not occurring when you absolutely wanted it to happen, versus 10 years from now, if our lives are twice as long or 3 times as long? And do you really feel that we're close to that? Like, that's your energy right now, is you feel like we're close? That's what you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be on its way. That's what most people want to spend their money on, is figuring out how to live longer, live healthier, live forever. So I don't know when it is, truthfully, or if ever, but
if ever, yeah.
It will. It's certainly. I know this is silly to say, but it's the closest now than it's ever been, right?
Mm-hmm, sure. I think it's more likely that we live double, triple, or forever than it is AI produces a good movie that we want to watch. I don't know why I feel that way, but I feel living forever is more obtainable at the moment than AI making anything that I actually...
Making a good sound.
Anything. Yeah, just making anything that I truly want to watch on its own. Maybe that's where I'm getting misconstrued on AI stuff, is I think on its own is like what, like, of course somebody's putting in a prompt, but like, could the prompt of the book of Harry Potter, would it result in the movie of Harry Potter? Absolutely not. And that's where like there's cultural relevance baked in, there's memes baked in. And like, does it understand memes? Will it ever understand memes the way we do? I don't know if it can, because it's such a nuanced understanding.
It's doing pretty good. Like it's doing, like if it can do poetry, right?
It can. Well, anybody can do poetry.
I think it is doing pretty good. I don't know.
I'm having it write raps a lot, and they all suck.
Well,
like it can't.
You're probably closer to understanding it than me.
I mean, I'm just saying, as far as like poetry stuff, like it's not to write a good rap. It has to be culturally relevant and like borderline comedic. Yeah, and that's not what AI is doing. Like AI is not writing any funny jokes right now.
As far as we know.
Okay, I agree with that.
As far as we know,
yes.
I don't know. You know, like nobody. Are the people that use AI like admitting it? I guess nobody's been like, I created this great joke with AI, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like all the best jokes are like, or the most appreciated are like situational, like kind of comedy, right? Like they're like South Park, like the way they write jokes. So, and they were like, yeah, we used AI to do part of this episode.
I wonder what it really did.
I think they used it, I can't remember because I read it a little bit ago, but I think they used, like, Stan or somebody was, like, trying to talk to their girlfriend or whatever, and they were trying to use GPT to talk to.
Yeah, he was using it to, like, give her good responses, and she felt like she was, like, falling in love with it. Yeah.
That's the engagement of AI.
Oh, that's what they actually did. They actually were having it give prompts for that, for like the girlfriend communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Evan, it was great talking to you today. You're an excellent guest, and I'll have you on anytime. Anytime you want to talk to me for an hour, 2 hours, you just let me know, and I will fire it up and we will record it, because you are very fun to talk to. I know you know this already, but I feel like I have to tell you while we're recording, because if I don't record it, then did it ever really happen? I don't know if it did.
It's true.
So
I'm nothing without you, brother.
I love you. Anything you want to plug? You got anything going on? You want to drop it? You want to tell anybody anything? Do you got anything you want to say before we're done here?
I love you.
I love you
That's
very much.
everybody. That's everybody. Well, to you too. And I love you.
I love you too. To everybody. You love everybody, huh? All right.
I just want to spread some love.
I like it. I told you I'm trying to love people
Positivity.
more. Yeah, I get it. Let's chug
There's
some
just
water.
you in a different body, I guess.
Yeah.
From our earlier conversation. I'm really trying to get better at being like that because I think it's the truth. Because
Me
whenever
too. I agree.
Whenever I go into myself, I'm like, well, I'm not any of this. The only thing I'm doing is like watching, and then if I'm lucky, picking the words that are coming out of my mouth. But 90% of the time, that's coming out on its own anyway. So,
Amen. I know it.
you know,
Well, we're getting better. We're doing better. Thank God. And hopefully we have some more time. I'll use today and try to do better. But I really appreciate that energy. And you've definitely made me a better person being in my life. And you always,
same to you.
you'll let me talk my shit. And oftentimes you'll correct me or put me on a better path. But always letting me be who I am and growing with me. I love you very much for that. Thanks for coming on today and chopping it up. And let's do it again soon.
Okay. I love you too. Thank you.
I would tell you to follow Evan on Twitter, but his handle's like 8 letters. So I'm just going to tell you to go to my Twitter, and I retweet Evan all the time, and then you can just find his account on my account and then give him a follow. He has an excellent Twitter feed. He's one of the best Bitcoin minds I've ever had the privilege and blessings to talk to. And not just Bitcoin, just life in general, but applied to Bitcoin, he is a superpower. So follow him on Twitter, and it will improve your life. I guarantee it.
Send the motherfucking jet.